Here is another sermon. My words are always heard and read by me, even when nobody is listening or reading my texts. My language is my biggest possession, since it expresses my individually lived experience perfectly, and thus it signifies my language enlightenment. I have no business with anyone's disembodied language, even though I hear it and I read it everywhere I go. Actually, I go where there is no disembodied language, and my ears guide me to be there and to stay there. This is why I cannot be found in the usual places where everyone gathers, the proverbial village square. While I post my videos on YouTube and my writings on Substack and on Twitter, my words are not considered to be valuable to the masses who only know disembodied language and who cannot even recognize my embodied language. Those very few people who do realize the importance of what I say and write must be surprised by my ability to continue with my embodied language, in spite of all the disembodied language that is going on everywhere, because they already know they themselves have failed at that again and again. Yes, even if they had recognized the difference between their disembodied language and their embodied language, even if they have felt the automatically reinforcing effects of their own embodied language, they still didn't and couldn't continue with it because their disembodied language was triggered so often that they gave up trying to stop it. The difference between disembodied language and embodied language is the difference between our sympathetic reactivity, which is the fight, flight, freeze response of our autonomic nervous system, and the parasympathetic well-being of feeling totally safe and at ease. With our ongoing embodied language, all of this is correctly expressed by you about your individually lived experience. So if you express with your ongoing embodied language your individually lived experience, then you will experience your language enlightenment. But if you keep expressing your individually lived experience with your disembodied language, in which you do not listen to yourself, but listen to others or try to get the other people to listen to you, you experience nothing but chaos and conflict. And yes, you can run away from it, you can try to defend against it, you can do all kinds of things to pretend as if it is not happening. But that is what your life is with your usual disembodied language. There's no room for any other expression than whether you engage in disembodied language or in embodied language. And when you knowingly engage in disembodied language, it stops, because you have changed from not listening to yourself while you speak to listening to yourself while you speak. In other words, your language or your vocabulary remains the same, yet it is now used very differently. In disembodied language, you are not using your language correctly, but in embodied language, you use your language correctly. The correct use of your language is an enormous accomplishment, because you have achieved something most people will never achieve in their lifetime. Our whole illusion about some kind of afterlife, that we maybe that we go to heaven or that we are reborn in a different life, all of that is of course based on our sense of failure. Yeah, we all know in some way that we're failing again and again with our disembodied language. And it is inevitable. Our entire lives we're trying to run away from this truth, which follows us until our last breath. Stated differently, with embodied language, we finally come to terms with our mortality, because we no longer believe in the illusion of inner language, which also contains three other illusions. The illusion of lost communality, the illusion of an external environment, and the illusion of eternal continuity, which are embedded in our illusion of inner language. Yes, and this, especially this last one, this illusion of eternal continuity is of course the reason that you keep on believing in your disembodied language. You just believe that it will go on forever. But when you die, everything will stop. All your behavior will stop, including your disembodied language. In embodied language, death is not something which happens at the end of our lives, but during our lives, moment to moment. Although I'm well aware nobody wants to hear this or read this, I want to hear this, and I want to write this, because this is how I live my life. Certain composers have composed their music. Certain sculptors have created their statues. Certain dancers have danced their dances. And certain painters have painted their paintings. But nobody has ever, with ongoing embodied language, celebrated their language enlightenment. I am the first person to do this. Moreover, there was, of course, never a society which was based on embodied language, because disembodied language, our ancient group behavior, has continued unabated in all free Western democratic societies where individuals are free to do as they please, and yet they haven't achieved this, what I'm talking about, embodied language.